Well, the Archdiocese of New Orleans has received a lot of attention for urging the faithful to avoid taking the Johnson & Johnson COVID-19 vaccine. But they're not alone. The U.S. Conference of Catholic Bishops, as well as a number of dioceses in the United States, are also expressing concern over this newest coronavirus vaccine. In a statement released yesterday, the U.S. Bishops Conference says in part, quote, the Johnson & Johnson vaccine was developed, tested, and is produced with abortion-derived cell lines, raising additional moral concerns. Joining us now is Dr. Joseph Meaney, president of the National Catholic Bioethics Center. Dr. Meaney, welcome back, and thank you so much for joining us. As we know, abortion-derived cell lines were used in testing the Pfizer and the Moderna vaccines, yet there wasn't that much opposition to them. Why is the Johnson & Johnson vaccine, why is it different?
Yeah, so several things. First of all, it is completely immersed in these cell lines. So the actual vaccine is produced inside these cell lines. And the other thing, too, is they use two different abortion-derived cell lines. So the HEC-293 line and the PERK6 line. The latter, which is even worse in some sense because it's the most recently developed abortion-derived cell line. It goes only back to 1995. So, it's definitely the worst ethical profile that a vaccine can have.
And Dr. Meaney, how common is it for abortion-derived cell lines to be used in vaccines or other medications?
So, it changes a bit. I mean, the interesting thing to see is that a lot of vaccines are now produced without the abortion-derived cell lines. However, the HEC-293 line is actually a workhorse. It's the second most commonly used cell line in science today. And so that means that many medications, over-the-counter drugs even, have been tested using the HEC-293 line. It's actually quite shocking to see that things like ibuprofen and aspirin and Tylenol will have also been tested with this HEC-293 line.
Well, that's something that probably a lot of people don't even know about. The USCCB, that statement that they made, stopped short of telling the faithful not to take the Johnson & Johnson vaccine, but only to do so if there are no alternatives. What do you think of their statement, and what would you advise people to do?
Right. So, I mean, the church is very clear that, getting a vaccination is a good thing, but we want to have ethically irreproachable vaccines. So we don't want, and we actually need to demand and protest that we want these vaccines to come out with, using proper cell lines that don't have any connection to abortion. However, that's not the situation we're in now. The problem we have currently is that the only vaccines available are somehow connected to these abortion-derived cell lines. However, you can choose vaccines with a lesser connection, like the Pfizer and the Moderna, and that, of course, is preferable.
Well, Dr. Meaney, we don't have a lot of time left, but before I let you go, do you have any other advice for people when it comes to these vaccines and some who have maybe concerns about them?
Right. So, I mean, it is important to realize that all these vaccines have only emergency use authorization from the FDA. So, they're still experimental in a certain sense, right? And we're hoping that they're going to turn out well, but we do need to be very vigilant and to watch and see, how these vaccines actually perform. One of the interesting things as well is that the Johnson & Johnson vaccine has only about a 66% effectiveness compared to the Pfizer and Moderna that have a 95% effectiveness.
Well, thank you so much for joining us and for all that information, your analysis. We really appreciate it. Dr. Joseph Meaney, president of the National Catholic Bioethics Center. Thank you again.
Thank you.